Azrael, 2024, is a post-apocalyptic horror thriller set many years after the rapture, a biblical event where all true believers are taken to heaven, while the rest of humanity is left to endure chaos on earth. The film unfolds in a desolate world where only a few human survivors remain, including the protagonist Azrael and her lover Kenan. Together, they have fled from a fanatical cult that emerged after the rapture. The cult, ruled by oppressive, ritualistic practices, forbids speech and has removed the vocal cords of its members as a punishment for sin. Silence is enforced to avoid attracting terrifying, demonic creatures known as the Burnt Ones, humanoid entities that hunt humans for their blood. The movie begins with Azrael living in a forest with Kenan, hiding from the cult. Azrael is seen crafting a bracelet for Kenan, collecting berries in the tranquil woods. Their brief moment of peace is interrupted when Azrael hears a sound. She quickly extinguishes the fire Kenan had lit, fearing it will attract the cult members who communicate through bird-like whistling sounds. Their fears are confirmed as the whistling grows closer, signaling that the cult has found them. Kenan, in a desperate attempt to protect Azrael, creates a diversion, but the couple is ultimately captured and taken away in separate vehicles. Azrael is brought to a sacrificial site, where Josephine, one of the cult leaders, awaits. The scene is chilling, a large tree carved into a chair, used for ritual sacrifices. As Azrael is bound to the chair, a deep cut is made on her leg, and the sight of her blood causes a strong wind to blow, signaling the presence of the Burnt Ones. Josephine and other cult members begin breathing heavily, seemingly performing a ritual to summon these demonic creatures. The Burnt Ones are revealed to be grotesque, zombie-like beings, thirsting for human blood. Their origins are not explicitly explained, but there are hints that they could be people who were rejected after the rapture, burned by the flames of hell. Alternatively, they might be demons roaming the earth alongside humans after the apocalyptic event. The cult believes that by offering sacrifices, they can avoid the fate of the Burnt Ones and eventually earn a place in heaven if another rapture occurs. As the ritual continues, a young cult member, new to the sacrifices, watches Azrael closely. When she manages to free one hand from her bonds, the young man tries to stop her, but Azrael drives a broken plank into his neck. In the ensuing chaos, one of the Burnt Ones attacks and dissects the cult member in gruesome detail. Azrael takes advantage of the distraction to escape, running through the woods and eventually reaching a river where she cleanses herself of blood and patches her wound. However, Azrael's relief is short-lived. She encounters one of the Burnt Ones, but her quick thinking tying leaves over her wound to mask the smell of blood allows her to evade detection. These creatures, as she learns, have a heightened sense of smell but are blind, relying on blood scent to hunt their victims. Azrael makes her way to the cult's camp, intent on finding Kenan. The camp is heavily guarded, but she stealthily infiltrates it, discovering Kenan's bracelet, a clue that something terrible has happened to him. Josephine, still pursuing Azrael, enters a nearby tent where her sick mother lies. Josephine leaves to attend a cult gathering at the church, where the group's real leader, Miriam, gives commands from behind a wall, claiming to be a spiritual medium who hears the voice of God. Miriam orders Josephine to capture Azrael, a command Josephine fails to execute. In a tense chase, Azrael escapes the camp, pursued by the cult. She eventually reaches a road, where she is picked up by a truck driver, the first character to speak in the movie. Azrael, still mute, does not understand the driver's language, and their brief interaction is cut short when a cult member shoots the driver, causing the truck to crash. Azrael survives and, after a violent struggle, manages to kill the cultist and escape into the forest. Her journey leads her to a climactic encounter with Kenan, but it turns out to be a trap. Another high-ranking cult member tries to kill Kenan, but the arrival of the Burnt Ones interrupts the ritual. In a desperate fight, Azrael inadvertently draws the creatures to the cult member, who is savagely killed. Kenan, however, is also taken by the creatures, leaving Azrael alone with nothing to lose. Azrael returns to the cult camp, determined to end their tyranny. She sneaks into the church, planning to kill Miriam, only to find her pregnant. Compassion momentarily stays Azrael's hand, but in the ensuing struggle, Miriam wounds Azrael, though Azrael manages to injure Miriam in return. Azrael is captured and sealed in a coffin for a final sacrifice, buried alive with a tunnel connecting the coffin to a hidden underground chamber filled with bones and a lurking Burnt One. In a final act of defiance, Azrael escapes the coffin and returns to the camp, where she sets fire to the cult's tents. As chaos erupts, she kills Josephine and enters the church once more, where Miriam, now in labor, gives birth to a child. The winds pick up again, signaling the arrival of the Burnt Ones. Miriam dies, and as Azrael holds the newborn child, it is revealed to be the Antichrist. The creatures, previously feared as demonic hunters, now bow before the infant, indicating that the true force behind the rapture was not divine but the devil himself. As Azrael gazes at the child, she embraces the power and madness unfolding before her. The film ends with Azrael standing amidst the wreckage, holding the Antichrist as the creatures worship him, signaling the complete unraveling of the world as we know it. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.